multipliers. It's going to be 1 point per kill as usual, but it is a little bit different than what you might be used to. It's a throwback maybe to the Verdansk days as we go ahead and jump into our second map. And who on your screen? Then Sage himself, the team that very well might have posted a dominating map 1 scoreline, trying to do that again.
And again, this is the team I called out before we got started. I am not surprised to see them at the top of the leaderboard, albeit they got second, I believe, in the last map behind Destroy's team. They got a ton of eliminations. In particular, you're looking at Sage, Ahsoka, Shifty, Biffle. These are the 4 players we're going to be watching today as the team that on paper should win this and win this handily, given their experience in winning customs tournaments, in particular on Al Mazrah. Now, Sage, on your screen right now, technically the team captain, has won the last 3 EFUS events, so looking for the 4th back to back, as it were.
That's a pretty good track record, right? We always talk about it when a new map is coming around, whether it was the transition to Caldera or the transition to Al Mazrah. Who are going to be the faces, whether new or old, who the stars align, it fits their play style, they blow up on that map? And, well, Sage is a good example of that, as are a lot of the players on this team. Ahsoka as well, just standouts all around Al Mazrah, and consistently standouts too, which I think is a point. It hasn't been here and there you're getting wins. It's been almost across the board. If you're not winning, you're getting one of those podium finishes. You're at least in the money. But a bit of a slow start for them. Maybe not a bad thing. Didn't try and do a particularly hot drop, but this area rife with loot for them to pick up and get prepared. But you can hear those comms, some of that laughter, Goj. I have a feeling the way they're talking that crazy scoreline we saw could very well be true.
Okay, folks at home, you're wondering what's going on? Let me tell you. We've been hinting at this for a while. The team on your screen right now, 41 kills in a customs. What kind of sorcery is that? If this was a multiplayer game, that would have been close to like an 82-point game. Placement points means it's still within reach, but looking at our score totals here, Biffle had 10 eliminations, Ahsoka had 7 eliminations, Sage had 15 eliminations, and I believe Shifty had 9. So you do the math, that's 41 total kills. So these eliminations early, now they're losing a couple in the process, are not surprising. They must have been playing insanely aggressive. But all of that to say, we've still got some things to confirm or otherwise. So regardless, 41 kills, no matter what happens with them, is a stupid high score, and excited to see the gentleman kind of continuing to prove me and, well, the paper, the analytics right.
Yeah, that is a incredibly impressive scoreline. The fact that you add on to that they didn't even get first place. They don't even need to, though. If you can be that aggressive in a custom game against the best in the world and still get second place, almost get first, that is a terrifying team to beat. Oftentimes, you're going to get one or the other. You're going to get a team that might get a lot of kills, but doesn't place well because that hyper-aggression lends itself to being eliminated. Or you get a team that plays it a bit more safe. Yeah, you're going to get maybe a first, second, third, but you don't have the eliminations because you were playing it safe for those placement points. Not so with this team, although maybe a little bit going on here. Myopo's team, I believe Otter, I'm not sure, was on the receiving end of, I believe, maybe something from that team we were just watching. I'm not totally sure, but either way, it looks like they were in a fight with Aydan trying to get out alive, and Tommy, well, gets ripped off a head glitch. Not sure who took him out, but potentially another slow start for TBE. And this will be a team I want to keep my eye on, Goj, because when I look at them, historically, maybe the best trio, but have not really found that same success or dominance here in Al Mazrah. And I feel like I'm waiting for that moment to see them back on top to get that momentum building again.
Yeah, I certainly have some wins under their belt and podium finishes. It's not like they're not coming out on top to some degree. I mean, it would be an understatement for sure to say that they're not doing well on Al Mazrah, but definitely not the same type of dominance that we saw from basically all of Caldera into the literal final tournament, if you will, of Caldera that supplanted them from being the top 3 earned in, sequential order. for the entire life cycle almost of that map. So yeah, definitely not the same dominating trio, but still certainly a top contending team. And Limax is a great addition to this team. It's just a matter of chemistry and if they all four work together well today. Again, any given day, any given team on this roster could win. It's just a matter of who comes out on top. Now, I think right now they are in a bit of that blender, whether it's because they're being contested on their drops or otherwise, or maybe it's that the IGL calls aren't paying off. I don't know. But what I do know is I haven't seen them stabilized in the first map and a half or so that we've played.
Yeah, haven't seen them stabilized, haven't seen them with that full loadout and flush with that cash. And that cash, when I say that, you're looking for about that 4K across the board. Similar to what we saw at a Breadman's team. Everyone with about 4,000 plus in their pocket so that if you need a hit, that instant buy to get a teammate back, you don't have to be delayed in searching for cash. Noobs, a couple shots down the line forces him to back off. So we swing over. Sage out for blood again. Does have one elimination, looking for more as his team trying to stabilize. So we talk about it. You might be some of the best in the game, but if you're too aggressive, you can get punished for it. Right now, they need at least one buyback.
Yeah, well, I think they're going to be okay with the aggressive stance. They're going to lose potentially Biffle as well, and maybe as well as Hisoka and Shifty, so it could just be Sage by himself. I don't think they're too worried, to be honest, even given the circumstances. Likely this is what happened last time. Now, every single fight could have gone in their favor. Unrational, getting the better of Sage there. They're going to give up and head to the Gulag, and this could be their chalked game, but this is their strategy. I talk to these players all the time, and these guys in particular, you know, Shifty currently on your screen right now, and we've swapped actually over to Mayapo and Otter and Aydan, but you know, Shifty, Sage, all those guys, they play hyper aggressive in customs. It's what fits their play style, and it's what wins them tournaments. So as long as they don't have two totally chalked maps, they're going to be just fine, and in all reality, they might be able to afford to with the map number one that they drop. But this is another team in contention that honestly we haven't given enough credit to talking about. You know, Otterize, Mayapo, long-standing competitors in the Warzone scene, some of the most underrated demons that have ever walked through this game. They don't get as much credit as they should. Aydan, of course, getting pretty much every ounce of credit that he possibly can, and it's definitely well-deserved. One of the most prolific Warzone players of all time, and even other titles before that. So he's going to lose his life here as I'm gassing him up. But this is a team to watch out for, even despite Aydan's recent kind of announcement that he's going to be taking a break and looking at some other titles. They came to play today, and they came to win.
Yeah, and this is going to be Sage. And we saw Honey Mustard earlier. I know who it is. It's escaping me right now. Sometimes they make it hard on us. I think it's
Breadman.
It's Breadman. I knew it was someone from that team. Thank you. So Sage v Breadman, and it is into overtime. Sage trying to slowly work toward that flag, get a sight line on him, and can't get it done. Good job, Breadman, to get out alive. So yeah, very well could be their chalked map unless they can regain. But I mean, after a first map like we just saw, do you really care that much? We'll have to see, though. You're flying back into the map, just shy, about 900 or so, trying to work on those buybacks. We'll see how they can hit the regain. We saw it out of TBE's team, actually, in the first map. That looked disastrous. They were full wiped. They were struggling, but then we saw them in the latter part of mid-game, Goj, and, well, they were all back up. So certainly an opportunity for a regain here if they can play it right.
Yeah, and again, it is the team at the top of the leaderboard by a sizable margin. Destroy's team likely in second with 26 total points. This team has 49 points from the last map, so they're going to be just fine. However, if I'm that squad, I'm telling Biffle to slow down as much as possible, try to regain. Let's get back into the map. Let's just put up an okay score. Let's put up a 12, a 14, a 15, something like that, just to kind of hedge our bets a little bit, that just in case we drop another bad map, this one will be, you know, enough to push us forward, especially when you start talking about averages between the two. If you drop a 10 and a 49, that's a 59, you're splitting that in half. That's averaging out to like near 30. So you're going to be just fine if you just throw double digits on the leaderboard if I'm Sage's team.
Do we have any more airstrikes and shit?
This is actually something that I think, Goj, we see from them all the time. Sage's team, Hisoka in particular, they have the capacity in any tournament like this to put up the tournament defining score. And they usually manage to do it extremely early on into the tournament. And that's what you're seeing now in the 49. We saw it out of their team actually in the Baka Brawl as well, with one specific scoreline that was over 100. No one really came that close to beating it. So they have that capacity to kind of define the pace of the tournament for everybody else.
Yeah, exactly. The team on your screen it isn't matching the same type of pace. Now, you're kind of hanging out on some strongholds, which are obviously good because you can get your loadouts, but also theoretically, if some other teams were trying to come get theirs, this is a great spot to hold them. They've got the UAV up in the air. They're getting procs. There is a team nearby, so they're going to be looking for some eliminations. Something that this team does very well, which we saw in the first map, it plays rotations near flawlessly. They are hyper strategic, and it pays off. The question is, how many eliminations are we going to find throughout the day-to-day? If I'm team, Destroy, that's going to be the limiting factor to their hyper success at the very top of the leaderboard, is trying to keep up with some of the more highly aggressive teams.
Well, and luck might be on their side. Case in point, Sage's team with only one person alive could very well be eliminated early, and this is their dud game. And if that hyper-aggression ends up not working out for them, it makes it that much easier for a team like Destroys to compensate. Because yes, maybe they're not going to be flying at teams the way Sage's is, but they're also not dying at the same rate, and they're making it into the late game more efficiently. We'll see if that plays out, but oftentimes things like that, not even in their control. They just play the game the best that they believe to get them into the money, which is going to be those top 5 teams getting payouts this time around instead of top 3. Clutch spots one out, goes for the shot, can't connect, but does have the player pinged, so they can try and swarm him. You can see the rest of the team on the minimap collapsing in on this player, figuring out exactly where they're trying to scurry away to. They fly in, and well, they get the down, and that's Biffle. That's Biffle, and it looks like, though, not a team wipe. So right. Biffle maybe getting at least 1 or 2 players up, but not going to help Sage's team's case.
Yeah, somebody else taking a few shots at Clutch. I think that might be some AIs, given the amount of damage that comes through. But yeah, that's tough. I mean, that's the team at the top of the leaderboard. You're feeling fantastic if you're Clutch Belk. Grabbing that elimination, was trying to just break down the door and help out his team. And, well, we've lost 1. But look at this. It looks like everyone else, potentially, at least 2 are alive. No, I see 3, maybe even 4 now. Oh. All 4 back up. They've bought back Biffle nearly immediately.
Oh,
or
this
a
is
little
back
bit
in time. Okay, there we go.
But that means Biffle regained fully, which is what's incredibly impressive. It is so difficult to regain fully on Al Mazrah Customs, especially with the amount of teams that are alive in this event. We still got 23 out of 25, so full regain. Sage is going to probably dip out of here, just make sure he's not getting pushed. Again, doesn't have loadout yet, and likely they were pushing into that stronghold to find loadout. Will it be in a bit of contention, but plays it well and finds the knock? Will find the elimination. That's Base God Xenon. Of course, now, that's the same squad we were just watching. That's Destroyed. This is the first place team versus the second place team. Katie, this is the type of action we like to see in the early game.
That tracking out of Sage was beautiful. That can sometimes be really hard for a player to keep their gun trained on, and does it flawlessly. Gets a little bit of revenge, the 3rd elimination, and yeah, these 2 teams, first place, second place, continuing tooth and nail to battle it out, wondering if maybe DBZ is going to push them. DBZ maybe opting not to do that just yet, but Operation Get Biffle Back still a go. They have more than enough money to do so. Pop a UAV to help them in their efforts, and you can see, take a look at that map. You got a few folks, at least in the vicinity, and they're fairly spread out as well, which if you're going to try and cover more ground, work your way toward that buy station, which I think we might be seeing out of, I believe, maybe, I'm not sure if that's Hisoka or who, but someone trying to get to that Biffle buy. But you also put yourself at risk, Coach, of being picked off.
Yeah, exactly, especially when you have 0 loot. This is regain central, this is stabilization central, this is whatever you want to call it, power position, power plays for the other teams. These players, Hisoka, Shifty, all trying to get something in their hands that they can shoot back with. Like, of course, Sage won the fight against actually his land duo that you and I had a chance to cast over, which was Base God Xenon. But he won it with the Vel just because of positioning. Wouldn't have won that if it was a true raw fight, just got the better of his opponent with positioning and, of course, tracking before Base God Xenon can get a read on where Sage was. Weapons are nearly everything, but they're not everything. Hisoka, Shifty, both potentially in trouble, trying to help each other out. That's blue and pink on our screens. It looks like Sage is right there as well to potentially try to play Overwatch position maybe shoot from range and address the fight from a different angle. They can work together here. They've got some weapons in their hands, but they're not great ones. And I think they're going to try to bail out and try to reassess yet again and get the better of this opponent.
Yeah, you have to be so careful. You've done an amazing job of regaining, and this is not where you want it to fall apart. Sage in a tricky position, a sliver of health, no plates to work with, able to stay alive. And, well, as I say, it does fall. That means only 2 members of the first place team left alive, but they do have the money to buy both back if they can successfully do it at this buy station. But that's going to be really risky, considering how many players are nearby. And if you've been picking them off, well, you know that's exactly where they're going to go. But again, it is those smokes that are the name of the game when it comes to survivability. And now, Mazra, if you do not have them, good luck trying to make plays like what they just did.
It's a great call out. All 4 still up, and they are creeping through this building. This cannot even be close to the same pace they had in the last map, but it's still a good map because they're all alive. Just a matter of where do we go from here. Slow walking, comms coming through.
Ping him one more time. Ping him one more time.
Soka's calling for some more pings. Precision airstrike to cover. They likely know that they're on their way.
He's plating up. He's plating up. Right after you
Could potentially, Katie, even be a third-party situation with another player on the outside. But we're getting comms from up above. That kind of like micro aerial recon showing face a little bit with Sage floating above, giving pings. But there is a third team, or at the very least, the team is split because I believe this is Ahsoka potentially and Shifty both taking fire from on top of this building from a couple different angles. And with another PA, this is going to be tough to deal with.
Oh, this is misery for them. They can't seem to get a single breath of air, and they try and make it. Ahsoka gets the shots in, but too weak. The Semtex takes you out. It's going to be Lipton, and, well, once again, in a tough position. Sage goes down. Shifty trying to do what he can to help out his teammates. This looking like it could very well be their dud map, just not able to get a moment to regain without consistently being pushed by other teams. Although, hey, we've seen multiple regains from them at this point, so maybe an opportunity to survive. A good play here out of Shifty, saying back up, it is not worth it. We've got to hit that regain. We've got to find that money that we just spent to buy our teammates back. Now you just have to reassess. You know there's teams pushing you and how much loot is available to you. And, well, looks like Breadman's team gonna be one of those teams causing some trouble.
Definitely. This is 2 different teams, by the way. You got Breadman taking snipes from distance. Looks like a couple different players on their team maybe even pushing up and trying to find some of these eliminations. But on the other side, they're going to be coming into blows, which you can see it on the screen right now. I was about to call them out. Lipton and Aydan. Lipton's been the one getting the better of the team in first place. Lipton going down, Aydan going down. Nobu Spartan, the captain of this squad, still alive with Groovy. There goes Groovy. It's just Nobu left. So the third party is honestly happily successful for the team on your screen right now. They didn't have to do much. They just kind of sent in the dog that is Wars, and he cleaned them all up aside from Nobu, who's likely running away with his tail between his legs.
Oh, and this is extra pain for Sage's team. You get that UAV. Not only does Breadman's team have a wildly successful and fairly easy third party, they now have that UAV, and they're going to try and hunt down the remainder of these teams. That's where you'll see Hisoka's body where he fell. We'll get any of that pickup loot from him, and Breadman just on the lookout for any players nearby, but most of them scattering away to the surrounding area as Breadman's team takes over. We are now into placement points as well, 19 teams remaining. So you will get at least 1 point added onto your score line, but spots one out. Who could this be? And what a tough spot to be in. I don't see how you make it out of this alive. Throws down that smoke, a precision maybe gets into the car to dip. But that was really risky. I wonder if that was someone potentially from Sage's team.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's a great call out, and I think we've mentioned in the bans and stuff that we've put into the place in the rules already. But one of the main rules that is going to be a little bit different about this tournament than other tournaments is you've got the classic bans with your stuns and your flashes and your cluster mines and things like that. But snipers are allowed, except for the Signal 50. Any other sniper is allowed, but you can only have 1 sniper per team, which is again, I think the first time we saw that rule was at the very end of Verdansk, and people really fell in love with that type of rule because it gives you a little bit of that kind of team team weapon comp that you have to consider. Snipers not being incredibly strong in Warzone 2, but still a nice either information gathering piece, or if you do it correctly, you can kind of be the entry man for your team to weaken your opponents, and they can clean it up, or you can clean it up yourself. So a smart play for Bread to be utilizing, I believe that is the Hemlock with the MCPR. Great weapon to follow up some of your snipe shots, and more comms coming through, a couple flying in. These could be the moments that you need to potentially grab a few more elims. But this is a great spot they want to hold, Katie, because there's so many different angles that they can work with that other players will have a disadvantage on fighting against because of the high ground. Red cracks, and he's going to force that opponent to relocate. More comms coming through. Joewo in trouble.
Joewo in trouble, able to get a down. Breadman sees a sniper down the line, but just exceptionally good positioning out of them. But you see all these teams flying in, so not secured just yet. A precision, they're going to have to back off as this circle getting so much smaller, going to funnel a lot of these players into them. Breadman, nice job of moving out of the way as we swing over to Huskerrs' team. We've seen them consistently in gunfights throughout maps 1 and 2. Only one elimination to Huskerrs' name so far, but not a bad spot to be in. They're flush with cash. They've got a lot of utility, those golden gas masks. So depending on the eliminations through the rest of this team, Huskerrs' team actually in pretty good positioning, all things considered. Don't have to worry about Breadman's team on the roof, any of those streaks.
Okay.
And well, if Orange Jace has 10 and you're sitting at, what, 17? You are in an amazing position to have an extremely dominant game 2, potentially even turn that into a win. So definitely a team to keep your eye on through the remainder of this map.
Yeah, that's a great place to be with 15 teams available to fully eliminate. If you can get into the 20s at this point, you're going to be near the top of the leaderboard even just after one decent game. I was looking back on our score sheets a little bit, and I think Huskerrs' team was down in 9th or so with a total of 17 points, if our scores are correct. So 17 points, not bad. They've already matched that in this game and some with some of the placement points coming through. So beating their last score, the question is how much will they beat it by? It's a great average to work with. I think our winning team is going to be averaging somewhere in the mid-20s or so, depending on how aggressive Sage's squad will win potentially another map if they are still alive. If not, then it'll hopefully bring down their point average overall after 2 maps. But as we swing over to Scumman's perspective, Foreign Jace, of course, a fantastic add to this long-standing trio, not only because of his firepower, apparently, with double-digit limbs by himself, but also he's got a great mind for the game and has really gotten a lot better over the last several months into mid-stages of Caldera to now. We're trying to address these fights here with the clusters flying through. Gonna have to be careful, but Scumman playing a smart angle. However, there's another team down below. Gonna have to be even more careful, and now getting split from a squad. Katie, this could be a very tough fight if they're not careful. If they get too separated where they can't help each other, this building is massive, and there's only a couple ways to get to the top. If they're not careful, these players are going to be isolated, and a full team of 4 could wipe them one after the other.
Yeah, and thankfully you are able to get some help. That was Smixy that was taken down, and you said it best. This building can be a maze, and one of the most difficult things about it is that there's about 85 million different locations you can get shot from, and it is simply impossible for you to cover all of them or even half of them. So you have a situation like Scumman's where maybe you have those streaks down, you're pushing, but there's always going to be an angle where someone can spot you and take those shots. So a good position if you're on the roof and you can lock it down, but if you're working your way up, it can be very, very tricky. Not sure as well maybe what's happened to Breadman's team. This could be them that Scumman's broke armor on. Will try and push for it, but gets taken down, punished for it, and will be in the storm. Not sure if a safe play for them, and no, will be taken out. That was Echo with the elimination. Huskerrs' team in a bit of trouble.
Yeah, it's Echo getting a bit of revenge for Smixy, who was down a moment ago, and then Moonride on the other side. Moonride on a different team, so there's a couple teams here, which is no surprise. There's 11 squads left, and we're closing through our 6th circle. This is about where we were last time, Katie, and it's about to be dicey. We're going to have to burn through our gas mask here. Look at the next zone. It's going to be the corner of this building's the God spot, and then you're going to have down below near the vehicle that is another solid position. The rest of it is fairly wide open with a decent bit of terrain, so we're going to see some proned out players, and we're going to see some players trying to play this cover. There's a spot for Foreign Jace and Huskerrs to try to creep into together. We're just worried about any other teams taking that late rotation like we saw from the last map with Destroy's squad. Unrational still alive for the moment. Gonna have to play this light area with no gas as well. just to make sure they stay alive. But no gas mask to write home about for Unrational. Not in a fantastic spot, but in an okay one, especially with all 3 out of 4 of their players still alive. They've got a nice numbers advantage. Finding one on Tomster, that's revenge back and answering back on Smixy's team. With a few smokes, this should help their rotation. I'm still worried for them, though, Katie, because there's got to be some teams sitting here waiting on them. And so far, that's exactly what's happening. They're running into a ton of different fights.
Unrational flying forward, trying to provide Huskerrs that cover to get back on his feet. Able to do so. Nice shots into Aydan. Takes one down. Cannot snap to the right. The trade from Adrian comes in, and Huskerrs back and forth as the team falls. They will get eliminated. They get 6th place, which is unfortunately 1 placement away from the 5 points they would have gotten 5th place. They still get 3 to add on, so a good score line for them, but you know that's got to sting with what it could have been if they got a 1st or a 2nd position. And well, it seems like everyone starting to fall. These teams in tough position here as well. You just have maybe 2 teams left, 5 players, and well, I think it's a 1v4. You're not going to be able to get out of that one, and that is going to be a 2nd place finish. But I'm trying to take a look at who got first.
I know. I want to see who got first
Who
as
did
well.
get first?
Echo smartly noticing that it was a 1v4, elects to die in the gas, which avoids giving away a free point to his opponents. I like the play from Echo. Shout out to Smixy's squad for somehow scraping by with 2nd place after so many different gunfights going their way. But who won the 2nd map, Katie? That's all I want to know. And looks like it was Indie Red. I don't. Oh, this is Moonride's team.
Okay, yeah.
They were in a fantastic position. Moonride in the last customs tournament that he was a part of was sniping as well and found some limited success with that. The issue was the kill multiplier, but this time with some placement points available, likely got a pretty solid map for Team Moonride.
And that's going to be massive for them because their first map is most likely